So I've got the recording going. And remember to share my screen this time. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Welcome to Paths to Publication. We are excited that you have joined us for our workshop today. We are excited to be able to continue to offer Paths to Publication. And as you know, this is a workshop for across the college that helps promote publication skill sets and things of that nature. And that could include grant writing, editing. And we also have a section on helping with the graduate student life experience. As you know, we meet on the second and fourth Thursday. And obviously with Thanksgiving coming up, we will not be meeting at that time. So we're cut a little short this semester. However, I have some great speakers lined up. So I'm excited to continue doing this and through November. And then we'll pick it back up again in January. Obviously, according to the slide, you see that our past publication is sponsored by the Educational Leadership Research Center. So we're extremely thankful for Dr. Irby for having the insight to do this. And then also for the Credella and the Graduate Student Advisory Council. And as you know, what we'll do is we'll have a speaker and then they will share their presentation and they will determine if they want to entertain questions throughout or if they would like to just do their presentation and then allow for questions at the end. Regardless, you will have a chance to interact. And if you would like to put your questions into the chat box, you surely can. That way they will not be forgotten. And then we'll make sure to help monitor those and get to those. So today's speaker is Dr. Nahed Abdelrahman. We're pleased to have her today to talk about mentoring in teacher career stages. Dr. Abdelrahman received her PhD in Educational Administration at Texas A&M University's Department of Educational Administration and Human Resources. She is the current coordinator of Preparing Academic Leaders Master's Program, which is also known as PAL, as well as the Component 1 coordinator for A+. She got her master's degree in public affairs from Lyndon Baines Johnson School of Public Affairs. Her research interests center on education policy and principal preparation. And she has received many accolades, including selection as a Barbara Jackson Scholar and the EAHR Graduate Student Achievement Award. She is highly published and is an author and co-author of many publications related to education policy, including topics such as dominant trends in the evolution of K-12 education policy in the United States, Arab Spring and teacher professional development in Egypt, hybrid learning, perspectives on higher education faculty, a website analysis of mentoring programs for Latina faculty at the 25 top-ranked national universities, and Women in STEM, a systematic literature review of dissertation in 2 decades. She has presented her research at many prestigious conferences, including AERA and UCEA, which is University Council for Educational Administration, and a variety of others. She currently serves as the assistant editor of the Mentoring and Tutoring Journal, Advancing Women in Leadership, Education Law and Brief Journal, and Dual Language Research and Practice Journal. So we would like to welcome Dr. Abdelrahman, and I'm going to stop sharing at this point, and I will allow her to share her screen.
Well, thank you, Karen, for this wonderful introduction. Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone who comes to here today and to share together some of our experiences and our thoughts about the teacher mentoring and about research in general. So thank you. I will start sharing my screen right now. 1 second. Here. So do you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So for today, I chose one of the thing that we all interest about is the mentoring, because Credella is really put high value for mentoring for teachers, leaders, and everyone work in education system. And actually, this is important and significant for education life, just to be mentored and to be mentee as well. So every one of us needs a person to help and guide them in order to grow in their career and their professional life. And that's why we find that teachers needs the mentoring across their career. It's not only our finding, but it's also the finding for all of the researchers before us, saying every teacher needs help, guidance, and some support at all of their career stages. So that's why we wanted to dig deeper about that and read more about how the research represent this and type of articles, chapters, and studies in the academia. Um, Actually, when I started like thinking what I wanted to present for today, I felt like we like in the past webinars we already I already presented like systematic review, and I found that might be a good example of how we do a systematic review on a topic that is we are interested in. And I will go with you like a step by step how this study went, what is the story behind, and the journey and the findings. So let's start with this slide. Would you like me to do the slideshow, I think?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so when we started thinking about the career stages of the teachers, so we find that we have 12 stages actually in the teaching life of the teacher. And it started with the pre-service stage when they were at college, and then it ended by the exit stage. And throughout those two stages, the pre-service to the exit, they pass by several stages in between, which is like novice stage, which is like being a teacher for the first 3 years, and then focused, growing stage, accomplished, frustrated, coasting, disengaging, experienced, second one, expert, and then the exit. So those 12 stages might take about 40 years for a teacher to pass by all of them in order to exit the career. And during those stages, teachers experience like different experiences, challenges, new experiences, new opportunities, and also new support or lack of support. So they sometimes need to have a support in each of these stages. So, so that's why we wanted to know, does the literature address this and address it in what way? So that's why when we think about the question for that study, we said, based on the literature, how is mentoring represented across teachers' various career stages? And this is the first part of the systematic review, how to formulate your question. And be careful when you do it, because you need focusing only on what is in the literature, but you will look at it systematically, which means that you want to see what's in every thing around you. So it's like you're giving the reader like an overview about what's in the literature. So that's why when we formulate our question, we said like based on published literature. This few words, it's important when you formulate your systematic review in order to tell the reader that we are working only on what is published. So the second part, which is really, really important on the systematic review, is the methods. And actually, you need to take more time, work on the method in order to tell the reader how did you collect your data? How do you analyze them? What is the protocol you followed? And how you synthesize this. Methods for systematic review is even more important than the results, because you need to tell them your journey as a researcher. So in the methods, the first part we spoke about is what is the protocol we follow. So mainly we use the Cochrane systematic review protocol. And this protocol have 7 steps you have to follow also. And you have to be very strict following those seven steps, which is like first, like formulate your the problem. So that's why we formulate our problem, which is not a problem, but it's a kind of exploration. We want to see what's in the literature. For your study, if you're thinking about different topic, of course, you can have a problem. You might think about like a very specific problem and you wanted to see what the literature say about that problem. And so you have to formulate the problem in the beginning, then locate and select the studies related to the problem. So when you locate them, meaning that what database you're using in order to find your data. So you have to be familiar using the databases. You have to know what the databases that can lead you to find the articles that you wanted. So, and then appraise the studies, which means that go through the databases, create your keywords, and start searching. And then collect data. Collect data meaning that in each of the database, you after adding the keywords and collect the data, and then you can remove the duplicate if you find several things like mentioned in several database. So you can just remove the duplicate in order to clean it and to have the final data for your paper. And then analyze and present the results, interpret the results, and improve and update the reviews. So this is the protocol we followed actually when we did this study. And before starting searching, we have to create our inclusion and exclusion criteria. What we expect or what we wanted to include in our study and what we do not want to include. So the first thing that we wanted to include in that study to be something like published in journals, book chapters, reports, and dissertations, meaning that we do not want maybe blogs. We do not want like something posted in Facebook, something posted in like regular journal, newspaper. We need something that is, or videos or visual, or presentations. We need a journal, book chapters, and reports or dissertation. This is our inclusion. Anything else will not be included. Studies that were focused on teacher mentoring. So this is the first keyword we looked for, teacher mentoring. And then studies that included teacher career stages. So we need those 2 things to be included in our studies. Then we looked also on studies that published between 1999 through 2018. This is our period. We don't want to search from the beginning of the history. We just need to focus on the last maybe 20 or 22 years. That is like the most recent, because at that 20 years might be the policy doesn't change that much. Maybe we can find more recent information, so we don't, which is like maybe contradict with what was in the past. So that's why we just focus on the most recent studies in the past 20 years. And then the last one is the studies that included teachers in the United States. And this is important actually in order to limit our search, because of course, education system is different from a country to another. And maybe mentoring even definition is different from a country to another. So that's why we just wanted to focus only on mentoring teachers in the United States. Any studies that focus on teacher mentoring in other countries will not be included in the study. So locating our databases. So for education, there are three main databases that we can look at. Of course, you have tons of databases, but for education, Erica Pesco is the first one. And Academic Search Ultimate is the second. And of course, ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis Global, because in the ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis Global, you only find the dissertation and thesis, and those are not included in Erica Pesco. So you just need to search on that if you maybe find some of the dissertations or theses that focus on that topic. Then we did the search. We used like keywords, and the keywords also were built in the first initial literature review. So if you remember the first slide, I just spoke about this one when we have the stages. So we used those stages as keywords like novice, pre-service, growing, frustrated stage. We used some of these words or all of them actually as keywords for searching. And then we did the search and we find a total of 222 studies. And this is a breakdown of like how many from each database, like 158 from the Eric Ebesco, 33 from academic search ultimate, and 29 from the dissertation and thesis global. So those search, of course, when you look at the first two, the Eric Ebesco and academic search ultimate, you might find like duplicate because some articles might mention in both. So you have to look at the duplicate and remove it. So that's what we did. And then we removed 2 articles because they were duplicate. So when we did this, we felt like maybe we missed something. This is not, of course, like for 20 years, it's not only like 222 studies published about the whole thing about teacher mentoring. So that's why we did another search and we added more keywords. And the result was actually surprising because we find more. And in that time, we find 428, and this is the breakdown of how many in each of the database as well. And then those actually we make sure that they are not the same from the first search. There is not a duplicate from the first. Those are different actually. Those are really different from what we find in the first search. And then we removed the 3 because they were duplicate as well. Then when we looked at those 2 searches, we met again as a research team, and we find a very big finding here that 2 of the main journals of the mentoring were not included. I mean, when we looked at all of the articles that we found in the first and second search, we didn't find any that were published in the mentoring and tutoring journal or in the International Journal for Mentoring and Coaching in Education. So at that point, we said, okay, we need to do another search only on those 2 journals, because those 2 journals are focused on mentoring in education. So for sure, we will find some on them. So we did the third search only on those 2 journals, and we find 270 in the MNT, the mentoring and tutoring, and we find 131 in the International Journal for Mentoring and Coaching in Education. So the total of what we found was 1,051 studies. This is like out of the 3 searches. So that's what we finally become comfortable. Those are the 1,051 will be screened for our study. And the first screening will be only for the abstract. So that's what we did. We screened the abstract of those studies, and then that's what we found. So you have to, in your paper, to tell the story like this, using Prisma flowchart. You have to tell them, or the reader, you have to tell the reader that you started with this big number, like 1,051, and then from which we have like search 1, search 2, and search 3. And search 1 from those specific database. Search 2, this is from those specific database. And then search 3 from this specific database. And then do the abstract screening. And then when you do that, you might find some of them are not related to your study. So you have to make a decision. This would be included, this will be excluded. So that's what we did actually for each article. And then we find, for example, I will give just one example, like from the search one, which included 222, and we removed 2 because of duplicates, so we have 220. And this is the breakdown from the 3 database. And for example, the 158 from Eric, we find 76 yes included to our study and 82 no. So we will take them out. Same thing for the academic search. We find 11 yes, 22 out. For the ProQuest, we find 4 yes and 25 out. So we did the same thing for search 2 and search 3. So as you see, like on the left side of the slide here, that these are the ones that we will include it only on our study. 91 from search 1, 142 from search 2, and 32 from the search 3. Then the next step, as we know on the systematic review, after you do the screening of the abstract and remove all of the no's and look at the yeses one, you need to read full text. You need to read the whole article or the whole chapter in order to know if it is also still relevant to your topic or you will take it out. So the final, as we have here, those like the included one is 365 from the 3 searches. So we did the full text screening and we find that we excluded 181 studies because they either were irrelevant or not about the US. So one might ask, like, but you did that when you created your keywords and inclusion and exclusion in the beginning. But yes, but when you do it, the system or the database is just like try to get what's matching with with your keywords. So your eye as a researcher should also make a decision in here. So sometimes like you find some from outside of the US and then you have to say, no, this is not. And sometimes you find like an article speak about career stages, but it doesn't speak about mentoring, or speaking about mentoring, but doesn't speak about career stages. So at that point, you want to make a decision about to include or to exclude the article or the chapter from your study. And then we find also 24 of those studies were removed because they were considered duplicate. As I said, we did 3 searches and we tried our best in the initial screening to make sure that it's not duplicate, but it happens. It happens that you can find some is correct, like duplicate or repeated again, so you can just remove it. So the total final articles and chapters that we will analyze and make a result out of them was 160. So you can just see, like, out of 1,051 studies, we ended up with 160, and this is really logical, and this is common in systematic review. Sometimes you start with 2,000 and you ended up with just like 100, something like that. So you have to, that's because you are working and screening and make decisions, and then in order to find exactly what meets your question, exactly what meets your purpose of your study. So in reporting your systematic review paper, you have to do this table. You have to also to summarize visually your results. So what we found only, like, not all of the stages, the 12 stages were reported in the literature. We only found about 8 stages were reported, as you see here. pre-service, induction, competency, enthusiasm, career, frustration, stagnant but stable, career wind down, career exit. And you have to also to say how many for each and from which type of studies. Is it like dissertation, journal, report? And then also you can, it's fine to give like percentages about the findings you have. This table is really important in systematic review in order to give a visual look for your results. Then we go to the theme by theme. So as I said, we have only 8 stages were mentioned. And then the first one was the pre-service. And as you see, you have also in the paper to report how many studies you find about this theme. So we said like it's 16 studies about pre-service. And under the main theme, you can have sub-themes as well. So for example, in the pre-service, we find some speak about pre-service peer mentoring or mentor-mentee diets or pre-service teachers mentoring experience in year-long internship and prospective of pre-service teacher in early mentoring phases and the online mentoring. And I find it's really important for us at Cordella to know that even the literature says the pre-service teachers, especially like the students at college, they feel they prefer the online mentoring to face-to-face, particularly related to challenges, issues, but inclusive of traditional issues as well. So pre-service teachers prefer the online. And actually this study, of course, was before COVID, because now I believe not only pre-service teachers prefer online because it becomes a need and a necessity actually to use an online for our safety, for convenience. So it's more now exist in our life. I mean, it's more exist like when in 2018, it wasn't exist like now. So that's why I feel if we do this study right now, not as a systematic, but as an empirical study and ask teachers about if they prefer the virtual mentoring or the face-to-face mentoring, I believe they will prefer the virtual because the mindsets change it. We are like now we think more about our health, about our safety, and our about others' health and others' safety. So that's why I believe this changes our mindset about mentoring and online or even the virtual platforms in general. The second big one actually was the induction stage, which is for the novice teacher. And in the induction stage, we find 114 studies. And under this, we have 7 sub-themes, speaking about the challenges they might face, what types of support do they have, the diversity and the pedagogy, how they learn from each other, how they learn from their mentors. This is like actually it was like a big eye-opener for us to understand how the teachers in the first years of being teachers feel and address their challenges when they start their profession and their career. The third one was the competency building or the expert stage of mentoring. We find 8, and also we have 4 sub-themes under this. And also they spoke more about like the online professional development that is needed, and more face-to-face time was needed. But actually, as I said, like we have this in the past because this paper, we published it in the Oxford Handbook of Mentoring in 2018. We submitted in 2018. So I believe their perception of the face-to-face changed right now. And most of the teachers at that, or most of the studies at this time speak about the professional development and the need for the continuation of having ongoing professional development to help them grow and to help them understand the changes in the pedagogy. So the enthusiastic and growing stage and mentoring, we find 15 studies, and also in the paper you have, in your paper you have to state how many dissertations, how many articles, how many book chapters out of those 15, for example. So we find three sub-themes under this. So we find like positive attitude and mentoring, the enthusiasm and mentoring, and the motivation. And those studies, mainly the studies speak more about how teachers need motivation and what are the type of motivation they are received during that stage from their mentors, and what type of mentoring they need during that stage. I will start from this ones, like the career frustration and the stable and stagnant, and the career wind down, and the last one, which is the career exit. We find few under each of those ones. Like for the career frustration, we find only 4, and then the stable and stagnant 1, the career wind down is 1, and the career exit is 1. This actually give an idea for the reader that maybe we need to dig deeper on those type of mentoring in those specific careers. So this is one also one benefit, one benefit of the systematic review, that it point out where is the gap in the literature. So when you find like only one study was published about this, I think I can do something. I can write like a paper about this. If you are interested, for example, to write something about career wind down stage and mentoring, it's only one paper was published. So when you think of a paper to write about this, you can, I think your possibility to get acceptance would be high, because the literature need more. There's not, I mean, there is only one study was written or published in here, and this study was in 2008. This is really long time ago. So maybe you can write something now for this topic, so it gives more ideas to the readers about what like the plans they can make about. Same thing for the stable and stagnant. It's one paper was published in 2004, and also for the career exit, one paper was published in 2005. So the conclusion of this, I'm just thinking about, when you do a systematic review, you give yourself and the reader an overview about what's going on in this topic in the literature. And also it can highlight where is the problem, and it can highlight what is the gap, what is the gap in the literature. So that's mainly what we did in that study, and I'm now happy to hear any questions if you have. So I mean, I like the discussion. I think it's just like going through the significant role that mentoring play, and what we do, and what teachers need, like mentors support the mentees with emotional and professional. And actually this sentence really, like when I'm thinking about it now, I feel it's really now needed. Like Pereira and Brawley and Slate, they said that in 2010, but if you think about it in 2020, and how teachers need that emotional support while they are teaching with what they are teaching with the different and very extraordinary situation that we are all in. So I believe the significance of the mentor's role now is like amplified or increased significantly. So I believe this study might help to think about how teachers need mentors and mentoring programs to be designed for them, or sometimes some districts need to think about their mentoring programs and how can they make mentoring programs more effective in order to help teachers in all of their career stages to grow and to do their jobs in a good way. Thank you so much. Oh, did I miss something?
Thank you, Dr. Abdelrahman. Actually, we do have a question in the chat from Dr. Drury, and she asked if we could get a copy of this article.
Oh, sure. Yes. I will send it to you and you can share it. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. All right, so what questions do we have?
I had a question for you, Nahed.
Yes.
First of all, lovely presentation.
Thank you.
I've been teaching 20 years and there are a couple of stages that I think I'd experienced by lunchtime on my first day. So it's interesting. I was wondering if you can go back to your actual 13 step slide.
Okay.
And what I'm pondering, Nahed, is a little bit more. It was like the first or second one you showed, I think, the second slide.
Oh, sure. This one?
That one, second slide. Yeah. That one.
Okay, that one?
Yeah, that's it.
That one. Okay.
So like the 12 steps. And I'm wondering if anybody's taken those 12 steps and put them in like a visual framework. Because some of them, right, we know some are clear linear steps, right? You go from being pre-service to neophyte to experienced to veteran. So we know that some of those fit in a continuum. But then some of them, such as feeling frustrated, might come up a couple of times in a career, right? As you transition from maybe being a teacher to a head of department or a head of department to an assistant principal, right? As you move through the career stages and levels of a school, or these things happen before you move to another school, right? So I'm wondering if there's a visual representation of these 12 steps, either you put it in your chapter or you've seen it represented anywhere else, because I think that would be an intriguing next step for this work.
Actually, yeah.
The visualization of that.
This is actually a good suggestion, especially like sometimes, as you said, we have some stages come in between. But maybe in the frustration stage, in that part in particular, it's not about the temporary frustration when you're going from a school to another or from a district to another. It's about after you feel like I'm done, I have everything, I am doing over and over the same thing, teaching the same thing every day. So this is kind of frustration that might have a long term. So that's why you can find like it has sequence also after that. So you can find like this engaging stage is coming because he felt, okay, I engaged for several years, and I feel like I give everything. Let me tell you something. Like 2 days ago, I had an interview. I interviewed mentors. Those are faculty mentors actually, and different university for another study. So she's like she's retiring like maybe this year. So when I asked her about what she can like what she think about mentoring and how she can support, and she said, you know what, I'm done. I feel like I give everything I want to give, but now I have nothing. So I felt like this is the stage of frustration or feeling I'm experienced it, I give everything, I'm disengaged anymore. So I told her something else. I said like, but yes, you give everything to the people or the mentees you have already worked with before, but now you have new mentee, and this mentee is having really low knowledge, and he still needs your knowledge. He still needs, or she still needs to know what you know, or at least to give her some guidance. even if you're repeating this, but it's still what you have is more than the mentee has. She said, yes, but my ability to give is now different. I feel I'm not be able to do it. So that's, I feel like this is what this stages speak about, feeling disengaged, feeling that I'm done.
So,
Mhm.
Dr. Abdelrahman, thank you for sharing our study. I'm sorry that I was a little bit behind time. I had another college meeting. So these particular ones, Dr. Etchells, are very detailed. We found, but we chose not to use every one of those. We collapsed them. I guess that maybe you said that already.
Yes.
We collapsed those. Can you go back to ours? The ones that we used are based on another person, and I can't remember the name of the individual for the stages. And
this is what
yes.
we have done.
Yeah, those are the ones that we feel are now, these are the ones that we distilled down from this entire study for pre-service induction, early career, and veterans. There are only 5 really that we, based on the other detailed ones, the 6 or so or 7 that we had in the study, and I can't remember that,
8.
but we had those numbers, and then we then distilled it to this. And we feel like that these are the big buckets that should be looked at. I mean, you could distill those down, those other 12, if you wanted to, and put those in here. But we believe that it's pre-service, induction, early career, veteran, and then retired. And so, and really, you know, may become, you know, a master or fixed in teaching at these stages. So any of those, I mean, you could do different things. And I mean, you could even become frustrated with your career, you know, in an early career. So you could be at that stage. So it's, you know, those others sort of float around within these 5 buckets. And the main thing here is that we wanted to show and demonstrate is that here's what is needed in terms of the teacher phases and the mentoring. So pre-service phase 1 mentoring, and then phase 2 mentoring, 3, 5 mentoring.
Thank you, Dr. Irving.
I was thinking about it from a policy standpoint and a recruitment standpoint, both Nahed Abdelrahman and Dr. Irby. Because if you could understand, because what happens with teachers leaving is, and we all know this, but I'm going to say it anyway, what happens with teachers leaving is there's a point where if you'd known that, you could have done something like professional development, promotion, expand the role, contract the role. There's a moment where there could have been like a redemptive moment to retain the teacher. But you didn't know that, and they didn't say it. And by the time that you have that conversation, either in the exit interview or in the corridor or during a meeting, at the point that it bubbles to the surface, when the teacher iterates it in a formal setting, it's then too late, and they've already decided that they're leaving, and they're just telling you that that's the decision. And I think if like a survey was developed, or, you know, teachers will become frustrated in their 5th year, because we know, right, first 5 years, year 1, they're really happy. They feel overwhelmed, but they're focused on discipline and content, right? Classroom management and content. By year 2, year 3, they're starting to become agitated by some of the policy decisions the school makes, or that they said something was wrong in the first year, and then they get the same exam back with the same spelling error on it. So they become frustrated like this. But the wind down that Nahed was talking about is really interesting, and the lack of research around people leaving the field, not because they're exiting through frustration, because their career's coming to a fruition, right? They're coming to an endpoint. I think that's really interesting. But if recruiters and school leaders could understand why, at what point these things are happening for teachers, from a retention standpoint, I think there's real, like, tangible steps there that schools could take, right? If you know when a teacher's moving from one stage to another, you know what professional development that they need next, you know where they should be career-wise, like, is everybody aligned and placed where they're having the most impact for the school? Or are there some people who have now become outliers that we could be doing more for them career-wise or more professionally or less professionally, right? Some people need less because they're feeling overwhelmed with their role. And I think this continuum with the other steps that Nahed showed in the second slide, I think the continuum kind of shows like where they are career-wise. From a mentoring standpoint, you're absolutely right that like you need these things at these stages. But that second piece of like how are they feeling at these different stages, I think is really intriguing from a research standpoint. That's what I was thinking about, that the actual policy implications of understanding where teachers are at. Because we know in Texas it costs $15,000 to recruit a teacher. So if you can send them on a 3, 4, 5,000 professional development course that retains them for another 3, 4 years, you're saving the school 10,000 every time you do that. So there's real like meat in the sandwich of this research. That was my thought. That all those steps are really intriguing.
So our main concern here was we were looking for things related to career phases or stages and mentoring. So it had to, really look at mentoring as well. So,
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Toby.
As we know, there's a lot written on induction. There's a lot written on, pre-service teachers and so on, but ours was specifically related to the mentoring. So.
Perfect. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, a quick question I have actually. So did you find in while teacher transitioning from one stage to another stage, and like Dr. Etchell's, before they make the decision to resign or retire, is there kind of like findings on how leadership, mentorship affect teacher retention or like help teachers,
Actually, because our focus was mentoring more than leadership in that aspect. So I didn't recall that we find something about how the support from the leadership teams to teachers for retention. So I don't recall something. Dr. Irby, do you recall something about that?
I don't. In the mentoring across the career stages, it was this general mentoring. There might have been some mentoring from the leadership, but we weren't particularly focused on how leaders mentored teachers in those career stages. It was any kind of mentoring that they got, because as you could see, it wasn't a lot of, there weren't a lot of studies, and particularly in some of the stages,
Yes, thank you.
Actually starting from the stable and stagnant through the exit, like 5, 6, 7, and 8, the 4 last stages, we have very few. We have like 4 in the stable, and each in the exit, for example, it's only 1. Frustration is only 1. So it's kind of, that's why I'm saying maybe this would be a kind of a light for the readers or for the researchers to make more studies about this, because the literature needs more studies and articles to be written about this these stages.
We did find, in particular on the veteran teachers, that, as they mentored in terms of leadership, we found that it actually did develop, they grew in their practice, but they also grew in leadership, in their leadership skills. And they also said in these studies that we found that they learned from their mentees. They continued to learn.
Correct.
And so I thought that was interesting, particularly for veteran teachers.
Thank you for sharing, Dr. RP. The reason I'm asking is, one of my research interests is instructional leadership and how principals of the leadership team contribute to the enhancement of teachers' instructional capacities, which in some fashion contribute to teacher retention. like we have been discussing in the early stage of the first 5 years, where teachers feel overwhelmed with a lot of tasks and responsibilities.
Mhm.
They need mentoring and coaching, and that might be in some ways contributing to the retention level. That's why I was curious to know if you found something in the literature or not. But thank you so much.
Um, there is a paper in 2003. It's a Darling Hammond paper, and it's keeping good teachers and why it matters and what leaders can do, which is sort of related to your comment, Hamada, and also Dr. Etchells. It's actually in Educational Leadership, which is an ASCD journal. So Darling Hammond published that paper in that. It's probably not a research paper, because I don't think that is, but it's more of a probably an, a helping type of paper. So that might be something that, someone wants to look at as well. So you could look there. So I'm just seeing if there's anything else that I think about. I mean, there were some, I think mainly we did not actually look at leadership.
Yeah,
So,
because our focus is mentoring. So
yeah.
we just wanted to see how mentoring represented. So our focus, because we don't want to like make the paper like go everywhere. We just need to focus only on what we are searching for based on our research questions. So we didn't go more about leadership.
And this was a very long paper to begin anyway. I mean, it's very long. It's probably 60 pages because of all of the references that are included in here. So, and to cover all of those stages. So we had to work with the editor to ensure that they would take the paper of that length, but they wanted it because it actually was comprehensive. And they wanted it to do that, so that to be included.
I believe it was like the longest paper on their handbook.
I think so. So anyway, it got a little long-winded, but I think it was worth it. So, well, I'm going to have to run, but thank you so much. Thank you for hosting this session, and I hope that it was informative for everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Arby, for attending. So Dr. Abdelrahman, I actually have a question. You made a reference to the fact that with COVID and with everything being virtual, that there have been changes. Do you have any plans for future research, maybe to look into that and to see how has that changed?
Yes, actually, already we published one this year. It's about leadership practices during COVID. But and now we're preparing another paper about mentoring, and it's part of PAL project actually, as we have virtual mentoring and coaching aspect for our cohorts. So now we're doing a kind of study about from the two lenses, from the mentors and the mentee perspective, about how they how the mentoring affect each other, even like the mentors, how the mentors reflect to the like changes globally because of COVID, and how they I think adjust their support to the mentees. Like, for example, they increase the emotional part, sometimes like being more available than before. Sometimes they even change it, the platform. Sometimes the mentor says like, I become available even in the phone, because the mentee might not have an access to the internet at that time, or because the need becomes more higher than before. So we do not keep the like meeting every other week. We can meet anytime now, as long as the mentee needs. And from the mentee side, I'm just giving you some of the draft we are doing. So one of the mentees said like she lost some of family members and during COVID, and also she had COVID, and also the changes in teaching in both platforms like virtual and face-to-face. She became very overwhelmed and very down during that time, and so that's why she needed somebody to say, how are you, even like just hi, or how do you feel. So she said, like, I felt like this is the time I felt like my mentor is everything. She's pushing me to be okay. So I think this is, I feel like I'm really passionate. I'm really like really feel um, happy about this study. I really like go through their experiences, and I believe it will be okay. It will be a good study. So when we finish it, so.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. Can't wait
Mhm.
to read it.
Okay.
Well, we
Yes,
are
and
about at time. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
Somebody.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead,
Myra.
Myra.
Thank you. So I'm, trying to understand more of the different stages, and, some of the studies that I have found, a lot of the times they're either mentoring a lot of teachers or providing different or a type of PD for different teachers. And it almost seems like it's not differentiated based on the phases that teachers are going through. And there's some researchers that would say that a more experienced teacher may require a different type of PD or a different type of mentoring from that of a novice teacher. So as we're moving now with technology, and we're able to service more and more teachers, do you think we should start seeing studies that maybe differentiate their mentoring based on teachers' characteristics, whether it's the stages or the years of teaching experience?
Actually, it should be at every stage. You have to have a mentor that matching with your character or personality. Um, because how can you be, I mean, I'm just thinking with you, like, how can you have a mentor who doesn't even match, or who doesn't even understand the differences between both of you? Um, or not, I mean, the differences might be about like even the knowledge level, like
Mhm.
so I feel like for the study we did already, and it's now under like it's accepted but it's not published yet, about the role of the teachers with each other, and they start do a professional development to each other about how to use technology. Because when we moved to be virtual in classrooms, some teachers says, oh, hey, wait a minute, I don't know how to use Zoom, I don't know how to use breakout rooms, I don't know how to um, put my lesson in a virtual way. I used to do it face to face. I don't know how to do it. So that's why teachers now become like more collaborative. They try to, the one who knows or who have knowledge about like technology, start like do kind of PLCs and help teach other teachers to give them demonstrations about technology. And this also can be a kind of mentoring, because it based on the need, because the need here is different. They need specific professional development. And also another thing that I got from the teachers, they start also teach each other how to work with parents at home, because like parents now, they are like helping their kids at home, or sometimes they need to know how also to use the technology. So teachers help each other how to deal with parents. So I don't know if this is answer your question, but we we always think about, when you, even if it is like you are in the same stages, the traditional ones, you
Mhm.
have to have a mentor which is matching with the personality and character.
Yes, and I think, maybe in district, that may be something that we may be able to see. And I'm just thinking maybe at the higher education, when researchers are providing mentors, through a study. or through federal grants, how that may align. I'm just thinking because, in search of the literature, I really haven't found studies that talk about how a mentoring or a PD has differentiated for a sample of maybe 200 teachers, and their characteristics are all different. It's like the same PD for everyone or the same mentoring for everyone. And I just haven't found, like you mentioned, I found them in isolation, like for novice teachers, and they support them. And then for experienced teachers, but not with like these mass sample sizes and how that may differ.
That's actually true, because when the district create a kind of mentoring program, is she's doing for everyone. I mean, she's doing, or not she, it. So the district does it for everyone. So the role here is the role of the mentor. If you have a specific mentor, that mentor, he or she needs to know what's your needs, how can she or he helps you. So and that's why I feel the grants sometimes provide like a very golden opportunity for teachers to have more designated mentoring programs to help them grow in a different way, not like what the district provides. So as like PAL as a project, I just told you, like we have 2 mentors. Those 2 mentors meets individually, and they have all of the information about their mentees, and they meet with them individually, asking them about specific needs they need, what they need to do, what they need them to provide, what the support they need. I believe this kind of mentoring is not like what you think about the regular teacher has in the district. Of course, designated mentoring programs needed. Maybe this would be like a kind of new grant proposal, right, Dr. Richards?
Thank you.
Great
Thank you very
idea.
much.
Don't be starting that in our head. Shut it down, Karen.
Okay, we have to end this meeting now. No, I'm just kidding. All right, awesome. Well, I do want to thank everybody for being here today. And in 2 weeks, or believe it's 2, whatever, when I send out the email, we will have Dr. John Williams from Teaching, Learning, and Culture, and he is going to talk to us about using large data sets to publish, because if you don't have research, especially if you're a new grad student or whatever, and you need data to write about, then he's going to talk to us about how to access those databases and then write publications from them based on a variety of topics. Thank you everyone for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.